Southern Pacific Lone Pine Branch, abandoned section. Lone Pine Branch was built as far north as Lone Pine to service the building of the Los Angeles Aqueduct, take care of mines in the area, and then, of course, to access the narrow gauge, which went from Nevada to the Lone Pine area. So, this is basically a book tells crews where to spot cars, where to find cars, where to place cars. And you don't put a tank car next to a piggyback ramp, and you don't put a box car in front of a tank loading area. Simple, basic stuff. They have a switch list that have all these codes on them that tell them stuff. We don't have switch lists. Usually at the end of the day, they throw them away, so someone having those, good luck. We also have, in this one, it shows us basic map coordinates. If you see this, it's a signal bridge. That's a bridge that the tracks go over, tracks go under. Shows what the track number is. Basic information. This shows a little bit more diagrams. Shows you this is a beat dump. We don't have beats in this branch, but overhead cranes, ramps, loading ramps. If there's a neighboring railroad, gives you all the little particulars to look at on the maps. This comes down with the mileposts and the stations. For this video, notice it shows Lone Pine Branch to Mojave to Lone Pine. We'll cover just what's abandoned. Mojave to Creel, that was in another video. Here's your codes off the paperwork. So off spot, area, hopper dump, etc. Take out special spot number codes. Each one of these books has been different. I've seen 4 different versions for just Southern Pacific. Union Pacific really drives me crazy. So this is a system map, upside down. There we are, now system map forward. So Searles is where the branch currently ends. We're going to cover from Searles all the way to the end at Lone Pine. This little line here is the Trona Railroad. We're not covering that today. We're just going to cover from Searles up. These are station numbers and mileposts. In case you want that information, there it is. Take a picture. Quick glance at the branch. All this exists today. Starting at Searles, the branch continued going northeast to the city of Lone Pine. If you travel Highway 395, the current tracks stop and end just before 395. And then if you run along 395, you'll see where the tracks parallel. You'll see culverts still exist. You'll see areas where bridges still exist, and you can see the right-of-way. You can drive on some sections of the right-of-way. Continuing on, Inyokern at Inyokern Road, and where the tracks used to cross, there's a monument talking about the tracks that used to exist there. This yard here was China Lake Naval Weapons Station. The crews were allowed to come in here and up to a point. Says don't go past there. If you travel on Highway 395, you'll go over a bridge in the middle of nowhere. That's where the tracks came across from the right-of-way underneath the 395 and serviced the base. At Linnie, further down the road, near the town of Little Lake, is where Louisiana Pacific used to load lumber into boxcars and onto flat cars. And there's a little more detail. You had a spur and you had a siding. See, it's got had ship tracked there and then loaded boxcars there. Coso, there's nothing on the list. Skies, that was where they took care of pumice stone and pumice. Pumice is used to clean stuff, scouring pads and stuff like that. Okay, continuing north. Olancha had some businesses. I don't know what, but it shows that they had 13 cars there. Had another business here. Bartlett, this was a spur for a glass company. They made plate glass there. And shows had other businesses there at one time. Almost looks like someone took liquid paper and said, okay, all right, we fixed it. Look for that stuff. And then there's the final page coming into Lone Pine. The only thing that exists at Lone Pine today is the station. It's now a private residence in dire need of a paint job. I was out there about 2 years ago. Still has a Lone Pine sign on the side facing the narrow gauge road. And there's a couple of outbuildings around it. But all the tracks are gone. Everything was abandoned. And about they officially abandoned it later on, but in 1981 they started pulling up tracks to make a shoe fly to get around the tunnel fire just south of Searles. And they came up here and gathered all the track they could grab with the flat cars and other cars that they had stuck up here after the fire, and moved all that down and built a shoe fly around the tunnel. And then after the tunnel was done, a couple years later, they came through and removed all the track. So there you are, Lone Pine Branch.